if you're have an excuse every single time and you're, not able to make it to like events and things, like you're probably just not going to be successful because you truly are the one that has to motivate yourself.
Welcome to this week's episode of Hey Homegirl. Hey Homegirls, this week we are in Lockport, Illinois with Ashley York. I was so excited when Ashley said that she wanted to be a guest on our show because, like many of the brokers owners that we've had on, they got started in the mid 2000s and after working for big brokerages, just kind of realized that they could do something a little bit different, a little bit more unique. And that's where Realtopia started in 2017. Ashley organically grew that brokerage to over 70 agents while being a young mom and juggling it all. And today she's going to share all of that with us. Hey, homegirls. This week we are in Lockport, Illinois, which is a suburb just outside of Chicago, with Ashley York, who runs the Realtopia brokerage. Did I say that correct?
Yep.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love that you guys have a fun name. You take a holistic approach to real estate and a collaborative culture. So thank you for sharing time with us today.
Absolutely.
So give us a little background on you. You got licensed in 2009, is that correct?
Yep, 2009. I was just out of college and I just knew the 9 to 5 was just not for me. I had done a couple internships in the city and I was like, nope, can't do it. So I actually had a family member that was in real estate and, I saw he had that flexible schedule. I always have worked commission jobs. So I was like, hey, I have unlimited earning potential. I love that. I mean, even in high school, I got commission. I worked at a baby furniture store. I sold shoes. Like, I just always thought commission was amazing.
Mhm.
So it was pretty easy to decide I'm going to do this, and I did start out part-time as most agents do. I had a full-time job at the time and then I went to part-time so I could focus on my real estate. Obviously, it was pretty tough when I started. The market wasn't amazing in 2009. However, because I was young, I had all the first-time buyers. So kind of like what we're seeing now a little bit, like a lot of agents are starting to really exit the industry because things are shifting. I was just getting in and I just like embraced the short sales, the foreclosures. I had all the perfect clientele because they were living with their parents. They had total flexibility on their time frame. So for me, I mean, I crushed it my first year. I did a lot of social media marketing. I got myself out there. So I went straight to a big brand. I really didn't interview around at all. I just went where my family member was. He was, sort of my mentor a little bit. I had to obviously lean on someone because as you know, once you're licensed, you're kind of just like on your own.
You're
So
like, here you go. Good luck. And
totally.
especially during that time, because 2009, 10, 11, 12, even 13, there was so much turbulence in our industry and so many
Yep.
people getting in and out. So the fact that you had the perseverance and the tenacity to stick through it, I mean, that's magic. And that's what agents need to hear right now. Like, stick through it.
Absolutely. And that's like literally the message that I shout from the rooftops to our agents here is that, I feel like the news, it's all doom and gloom. But for me, I was like, hey, this is an opportunity, and I just have always liked to do things different. So even when I was with the big name brokerage, I quickly started to realize that people really don't care what brokerage you work for. I would say I don't even think I've ever had a single client that said they hired me because of the brokerage name. So, fast forward a couple of years and I had built a really good business. I was always super strong on my follow-up because, a lot of people treat it as like one transaction at a time, but really I feel like your bread and butter in real estate is that follow-up and that like nurturing of your clients. Because I always would say if somebody gave me $1,000 right now, I would put all of that into my past clients because they're going to be your best referral source versus like online ads or whatever. So I was really good with the follow-up. I had some clients at that point that I had repeat business with because I had all the starter homes, I mean, I was doing deals for $50,000, $60,000 when I started, really just foreclosures, but then people's lives progressed. Maybe they got married, maybe they had kids, and then they needed to move out of that condo or townhome into a single family. So then you start getting into the referral business of the buy sell. So, my business was doing really well. And then at the time, my cousin, she was working at a full-time job that she wasn't in love with. So she's like, what if I got my real estate license? And I was like, yeah, like I could use you,
Yeah.
I had gotten married at the time. So it was a lot going on. And as you know, when you scale, it's very hard if you're like the end all be all of your business. So her and I like really partnered up right away and literally doubled our business volume. And then like 2 years later, my husband also got licensed. So like she was able to leave her full-time job. So we were both full-time brokers. And one day we're just kind of like looking at everything that we're doing. I always built my own website. I didn't use the tools given to me because to me, I'm not into like cookie cutter things.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you probably get them. Everyone in real estate does, but you get like the same cookie cutter email from like 4 different agents. So I always did my own email newsletters, my own website. And obviously when you're with a big brand, you're paying for the big brand name.
Mhm.
And so we were at the point in our business where we're like, everything is referral. People, we're walking in, we always joke, like, I don't even have a listing pitch because you're going in pretty much knowing they're going to hire you because it's like they're, your client's cousin or brother or whatever. So we're like, okay, let's look at the numbers here. Like we're paying a lot of money for this brand name, not using any of their tools. We can do our own brokerage and then, do something a little bit different. So we did. And then in 2017, I mean, it was scary. We branched out.
Yeah.
And obviously we're like, do we buy into a franchise? We're like, we don't want to do that because we want to do things our way. We believe that we have, better ideas and like just technology, I think was always a big, strong part of like our business. So then we just started a total independent brand in 2017. So now like fast forward, we're coming up on 7 years and we have about 70 agents. It really took off. So it's been awesome. It's been like quite the journey.
And so over that time, even from you developing your cousin to now developing all these other agents, you've seen a lot in what helps agents succeed and helps them fail.
100%. I'd say, the biggest thing for me, and I always tell agents coming in, I'm like, listen, we have like an 87% failure rate. So I've seen it tremendously as a broker owner because everyone gets into real estate. And I can't tell you the number of times I've heard, well, I like to watch HGTV or
I love to walk through houses and see how they have it decorated.
yes.
When they say that, I'm like, I don't really think you're a right fit for us. Sorry.
Which don't get me wrong. I mean, that to me, that will never get old, like going through houses, that's one of the most fun parts, but it's just real estate is so much more than that. And so I think that a lot of it, consistency is huge, right? Like I think that a lot of agents might be consistent for like a week or two and then, life happens. And so I think it really takes an individual to be very self-disciplined. So, not everybody can like be an entrepreneur because you really do have to just advocate for yourself, as much as like your brokerage is there to support you, like you have to have some sort of internal drive to get yourself out of bed, to get yourself to events, get to the office, constantly be self-improving. Obviously a lot of people do join teams for that reason because maybe they don't want to like generate their own business. But a lot of people, will join teams maybe if they don't want to do certain parts, but you really are, even just as an agent, you're wearing so many hats, even though you're not the broker owner, you're still in charge of like your marketing and you have to continually get new clients, keep your pipeline full, because a lot of times I see agents that like get their first deal and then they get laser focused on that deal to make it go perfectly, but then they like neglect all other parts of the business, right? So then you get to the closing table
rallies. Yeah.
and it's like, oh my gosh, I get this like huge closing check. But now you're like, okay, that deal's done. And I haven't been like generating any new leads for myself. I really like, let things go on the marketing part. So it is interesting because there's so many moving parts to, I think, a real estate agent's day to day. And I think so many of them that I'm sure you've seen, they come to me and they're like, this is like nothing that I learned in classes. When you take real estate class, it does not prepare you for what real estate is.
I think what you said a little while ago, where you said you're really, really good at the follow-up. When I hear you say that, it automatically resonates with me as to why you're such a successful broker, because your retaining and retention is focused on your past clients. So your retention for your agents must be so unbelievably strong throughout your brokerage.
Oh, our retention, I mean, we just had our New Year's awards party and we did like a years of service. And for being an independent brokerage, one, we like to do things very different. So I think when people do come from a bigger brand, they generally are like, wow, this is so different. And like the culture we've built, I feel like is amazing because everyone is very collaborative, like helps everyone, answers questions. But we have people that have been with us like 5-6 years. I mean, in the real estate world, we know that is crazy because obviously, I tell the new agents all the time because it's like, you don't know that the grass isn't greener until you explore it. So I have definitely had people that have never been with another brokerage besides mine explore. And I've had so many come back, which to
Yeah,
me is
you
like,
always
that
leave
was
that
the
door open.
ultimate measure. Oh, absolutely. I mean, how many, I see broker owners all the time that will burn bridges, but like we always will keep that door open, and we've had numerous people come back. So I think, that to me, like the retention part of it, I mean, that's a huge thing because we just see it so much in real estate. Like people broker shop all
Shiny, yeah, shiny brokerages, shiny object syndrome. It's so
the
hard.
time.
And so many of the big, larger corporate brokerages are so focused on getting the maximum number of agents that they can. They're not focused on the agent development or the agent retention. And
Yep.
that's where I see brokerages like yours or mine on these, we are on our own little islands and we have to create it all and to get it to sustain and flourish. But that's where I see us thriving is we are like one big family.
Absolutely. And, I think pretty much with the agents that we hire, I typically can tell right away the ones that are going to be a smashing success and the ones that I think aren't going to make it in the industry, because it's definitely not for everyone. And I try to be super honest and transparent. We actually used to have a teacher that would teach classes here, and his advice, which I always will use, he always suggested that new agents interview with different brokerages. So a small, like independent, maybe like a mid-size, and then the large corporate. Because everyone does have their own fit, right? Like cold calling and corporate brokerage, that was just never for me. Scripts, like that's just, we preach like authenticity, connection, but not to say that like people that buy into, lead services and do the cold calling, like there's room for everyone. I mean, just, we really try to put our vibe out there and our culture so that we are attracting the right fit, because, obviously someone that is going to show up in a suit and tie probably isn't going to work here. It's just like we have a different vibe. Like we're laid back. I always give the example of TikTok, right? Like people go on TikTok and they get sucked into these videos. It's literally people like doing their makeup and getting ready and talking to you. And it doesn't have to be like professionally edited. And that's just what people want. And that's just, if you go to a listing appointment and they're interviewing 3 different agents, I personally think they're more likely to want to build that connection with someone who's, authentic. Like maybe I'm getting down on the ground petting their dog versus like someone that comes in very stiff. It's just very different. I think that's in my experience in my business, that is 100% true, because, new agents get intimidated by these agents that are on billboards and they do so much business. And I built like my business off of expireds back in the day when it was like everything was expiring. And the feedback that I got really, I think, helped build my confidence as a new agent, because I realized like these agents, just because they have money to pay for marketing and billboards doesn't mean that they're a good agent. Like I heard so much
Yeah.
feedback about how they would have this like amazing pitch and then they never heard from them again.
Yeah. They'd hear from their assistant or their teammates.
Totally. And that's fine if like that could work out well too, not like knocking that at
Yeah.
all. But like for what I tell my new agents to help build confidence, I'm like, listen, just because you're new and don't have a deal under your belt, I always tell them like flip that to a positive and tell the seller, hey, I am newer to the business, but listen, I focus on social media, marketing. I only get paid once I sell your house. So I don't have an inventory of 50 listings right now. Like I am focused on you. 9 times out of 10, I feel like that's a slam dunk, because that's typically sellers want that personal attention and they don't necessarily get that from like mega teams and brokers.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. We're not quite finished yet, but as the homegirl of your hometown, I would love to pass the mic to you so that you can share your story and some of your secrets with the homegirl community. To apply, please go to howtobeahomegirl.com in the show notes. Yeah, that's so good. So, over the course of the years that you've been developing agents, what do you think are 2 or 3 or just a couple of the strengths that an agent really needs to focus on during their first couple year and a half of development?
Honestly, the most successful agents that I've seen come in straight out of like real estate school, they just attend things. I mean, they attend trainings and they don't even just wait for my trainings necessarily, which we do extensive, but our local association offers a ton of trainings, tutorials, networking. So the ones that I see that are successful really just like soak it all in. And
Mhm.
some people I see sit back and kind of like wait for the business to come. But I always tell agents, I see sometimes people get this like paralysis of, oh my gosh, I can't approach a client until I know every single thing. But I always tell them, I'm like, listen, you could be a decade into this business and you don't know everything.
Yeah,
So
no,
throwing out like, oh, I've been doing this for 30 years and I know, it does not make you a better agent. It does not mean you know more. I think really just new agents just need to consume as much as they can. And even, go to what your brokerage offers, listen to podcasts, like follow, YouTube, other professionals. There's so much information out there, which I know can be overwhelming, but like you just have to try to obviously come up with your own marketing pitch. And, it might be different than another agent's, but you could just pick up all these little tidbits along the way as long as you're showing up, if you're have an excuse every single time and you're, not able to make it to like events and things, like you're probably just not going to be successful because you truly are the one that has to motivate yourself.
Yeah. In this industry, the time is your commodity. So you putting the
Yep.
time into developing your business is what's going to make you the money later.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think everyone wants instant gratification. I think that's just our society. And so, even if I tell them, listen, like posting on social media, even if you're not getting 50 likes and comments, I promise you they're seeing it, they're scrolling past it. Cause how many times you run into someone at the store and they're like, oh my gosh, like your
See
business,
you
like
everywhere.
I see you everywhere. It's really taking off. So I think so many people could just get discouraged if they don't like, immediately get some big leads or whatever. Cause I think everyone's expectation is that they're going to post online that they passed their class and they're a real estate agent now. And they think that business is going to flood in.
Yeah.
And it's obviously extra hard if you are younger. Like being a younger female was like, I think the hardest barrier to entry because, people just like taking me seriously. And
Yeah.
then if you don't have that like credibility, I feel like that first like 2 years is really hard because you have to like prove that I know what I'm doing. It's really, really hard. So I do feel for all of the young females especially, but I just keep going because it does get better.
Yeah.
But once you get over that first hump, you're terrified to get a listing. You get the listing and then you're like, now I can reference this listing that I just closed. And then
Mhm.
it's like it just builds and it's like a snowball.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think we do have so much information that we can consume on a daily basis now on a global level. But it's important when you're consuming that information to pick one or two things from that content and really figure out how to put it in action. We are all
Absolutely.
the energetic match to the moves that we make. And if you are not making any moves or you're in paralysis mode, that's where your energy is going to lie. But if you can just take that little bit of action every single day and watch it bloom into something, it's great. I think about geo farming all the time, and agents think they can send one postcard mailing, to one neighborhood and they're all of a sudden going to get listings. Like it takes
Yep.
18 months usually to cultivate that. So everything in our business takes time.
Absolutely. And I mean, it could be very overwhelming. So I always do suggest, I'm like, don't do everything at once. Like you don't have to automatically be on every single social platform because anyone's going to fail at trying to do that. Focus on one that you're comfortable with and, build some content. Like, I just think if you try to do everything at once, because I mean, let's be honest, most people that do get into real estate are typically pretty motivated people. But I
Mhm.
think that's, not having the ability to like discern what is important now and trying to do like too much can also be bad, so it's like you have to have that balance, like you said, of finding like maybe two things to focus on. So obviously marketing is huge. I mean, you're not going to get clients unless you get your name out there, but then simultaneously you need to be making sure that you're learning your contract and learning everything, because then you get the client and then it's like, oh, what do I do?
Yeah.
So making sure that you fully understand, do practice paperwork, whatever's going to make you comfortable, because you don't want to be trying to learn that at like 9 o'clock at night when they actually want to put an offer in,
Yeah. Or practicing in front of them. I see agents make that mistake all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So for you as a young female broker and having three small children, how are you finding balance in your life?
Balance. What is that?
Okay, let's not, maybe not balance, but one of my other clients said it best. It's harmony. How do we find harmony in our lives?
I just think that you just got to do what you can where you can. I mean, for me, it's kind of funny, and I think so many moms could probably relate, but like I will strap my kids into the minivan and grab coffee and let them play their iPad for a little bit so I can make calls, and they're not like destroying my house. Or it just, I mean, the amount that I think any working mom can accomplish during like a nap time, it's like impressive. I could probably do more in a nap time than a lot of people could do in like an 8-hour work day. So,
And what are the ages of your kids?
so my oldest daughter is about to be 9, so she's third grade. My middle daughter is just started preschool, so she just turned 4. So I've been doing triple school pickups, which has also been fun. And then my son is like 14 months. So he's in a real hard stage. And as you know, when we get on the phone, that's when our children want to scream and need us. And, so for me, I guess the big part I left out is that I actually took a step back and stopped selling like my own production probably like 3-4 years ago at this point, which for the brokerage, that has been the best move that I've ever made, because I do think it's really hard, not only for like a working mom, but I think for anyone to be a successful broker owner while also being in production. I do think that that is a big struggle. And a lot of the people that come to our office, that's a big reason why, because, I'm not competing. I am available. I do want to pour into the agents and help. Some people have never even met their managing broker, or they might ask a question and not get a response for like days. So for me, like, that's kind of our bread and butter, is that I'm available and I help them. And like, I'm really focused on like the future of the brokerage and growth. But yeah, it's definitely hard having young kids and doing what I do.
Completely other end of that. So I have a 12-year-old, but then my other 3 kids are all either in college or out of college. But they were with me in the car all the time when they were little. And looking at them now and seeing the adults that they've turned into, they're so articulate. They can hold conversations with other adults, and their work ethic is outstanding because they always were with mom, seeing how hard mom worked.
Yep.
So it's like, to me, it's the best gift you can give your children when they
It
can.
really is. And I'd be lying if I said that there wasn't obviously those days when you think about like, oh my gosh, am I putting my career before my family? But I totally agree with you. And we have so many like moms in the area that might like get into real estate and do like a part-time, because I do feel like, you generally have some flexibility. So it is like a good career for someone with young kids, if you do have someone to like help with your kids, obviously, just because like showings and whatnot could be tough, but just stick with it, because like, one, I totally agree with you that your kids are watching everything you do. And I think it's really helping them to like develop that work ethic and seeing like, my daughter now, she's at the age and she tells everyone like, well, I'm the boss's daughter. And, they see what you do, and she's starting to really understand. Like one day she asked me, she goes, Mom, like Realtopia, like is yours? Like you created it? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, that is so cool. So I think I love that example. And so like on the hard days when, obviously like you have sick kids and it's challenging, and then you have people that need you for work related things, it is hard. But overall, I've also had moms that enter the industry and get their license after maybe they took, time off and like they raised their children, and not saying that like they regret it, but I hear a lot of like, I wish I kept my foot in the door somehow of a career, because then once your kids do grow up and they don't need you anymore, then you're not like starting from scratch. And I feel like real estate's kind of perfect for that, because you could take some slower time away if you have life things going on, but keep that license active and keep your like toe in the water, because
Development going.
exactly. You never know what life phases. It's always a good fallback. I mean, let's be honest, people need to move no matter what. So even in the worst economy, there's still people that are needing to buy and sell. So I feel like as long as, you are growing your business, it's like a good fallback.
So good. So good. So as we wrap up every episode, I always ask, what's one piece of advice that you would give to kind of empower the next generation of female agents, or agents that are in the business right now that need a little push in their mindset? What's that one piece of advice?
Oh gosh, that's a tough question. I feel like consistency. I feel like getting in the mindset of consistency, even on the days that you don't feel like it, even when you have to like drag yourself, whatever you have to like write on the wall that's going to make you like remember like why you started. It's just the consistency. Because even if it's a bad day and you can force yourself to show up, like you won't regret it. It's still going to continue to grow your business.
And really what that consistency is action.
Totally.
I hear all the time, well, I want consistency in my business. Well, there is no consistency unless you're willing to take action.
Absolutely. Yeah. Got to get up, got to do it, got to give yourself the kick that somebody else isn't going to give you.
Oh, it was so cool to hear about your brokerage today and hear about how you're impacting the lives of so many agents. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this was really great. I very much appreciate it. And I look forward to maybe meeting you in person someday.
Likewise.
All right. Thank you.